Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today we just got some awesome new cards announced. And we even got a new Kaibaman. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out these awesome new cards. So first off, we do have a new Gaia monster, which is actually really interesting. And this card is actually going to release in Duelist Advance, just like the new Kaibaman. But this card is called Gaia Stream, the Graceful Knight, which sounds really interesting because this card is actually an XZ monster. Very similar to Gaia Charger, which is really cool. So now we actually have a water version of Gaia, a wind version of Gaia, fire, earth, and the original Gaias, which is really interesting that Gaia has so many different forms. But let's go ahead and see what this card actually does. So this card is a rank 6 Water Aqua XZ effect monster that has 0 attack and 0 defense points, with its materials being 2+ level 6 monsters to make this card. And its abilities is once per turn you can also XZ summon this card by using one rank 5 or 7 XZ monster you control, transferring its materials to this card. And it cannot be used as a material for an XZ summon the turn it was XZ summoned, which is a little bit of a downside because we could have used this card as a Downer Magician for our copy of Zeus, which would have been really interesting to be able to use this card as, but unfortunately you can't use it that way. But for this card's 3 different effects, it has the effect for the first ability, it cannot attack directly, which is a little bit of a downside. For the second effect, it gains attack equal to the combined levels and ranks of the attached materials times 200. And since this card does say 2+ level 6 monsters, this card could get absolutely massive on your side of the field, depending on the amount of materials you actually put under this card. And for the third effect, at the end of the damage step, if this card battles, detach a material from this card, which is a pretty interesting ability. It kind of has 3 bad effects and 1 really interesting effect to be able to use. And I really find this card very interesting, but I don't know how much play it's actually going to see. But it is nice to actually see another form of Gaia, which is actually really neat. We do have a new Kaibaman as well. And this card is called Legend of Justice Kaibaman, and it looks so cool. I love that he's actually holding the Blue Eyes White Dragons and Blue Eyes is behind him. It looks so awesome, and it's so cool and so nostalgic to actually see a new Kaibaman card. Let's go ahead and see what this card does. So this card is a level 1 light warrior tuner effect monster with 200 attack and 700 defense points, which I believe that was the same stats as the original Kaibaman, but now it's actually a tuner and a level 1, where previously I believe it was a level 3 monster. And this card is the ability that you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. For the first effect, if this card is normal or special summon, you can show 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons in your hand, deck, face on the field, and or graveyard, and then special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Now that is very interesting because that gives you the ability that you actually now want to play 3 copies of the Blue Eyes White Dragon in your deck if you're going to play this card, so that you can actually use this card to summon Blue Eyes directly from your deck to your side of the field. So you can go in for a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, since this card is a tuner, which is actually really cool. I really like that ability, that it kind of forces you to play 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon, as a lot of builds right now are actually just playing 2 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon, where if you're going to play the new Kaibaman, at any number, you have to play 3, which is really cool. And I actually like that. That's actually really cool. And for the second effect, if you special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon while this card's in the graveyard, you can banish this card to add a Blue Eyes monster from your deck to your hand. That's actually really neat. I really like this card overall. It really doesn't have a bad effect on it to be able to use this card to just show 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, especially when a Blue Eyes from your hand, deck, or graveyard, is actually insane to be able to do. It basically gives you a free Blue Eyes White Dragon to your side of the field. And then also, if you do special summon a Blue Eyes while it's already in the graveyard, you can just banish it to add any Blue Eyes monster you want from your deck to your hand, which is going to give you the ability to add cards like Chaos Max to your hand, Jet Dragon, your copy of Alternative White, any of those cards. It just gives you the ability to search out anything that you need, and it's really good. Overall, this card is very interesting, and I do like the fact that it is a level 1 light tuner. So if you do use it with your copy of Mausoleum, you can easily get to this card. I do see this card at least being a 1 of in the deck, because you can search it with your copy of Sage, and it does give you a good normal summon beside your copy of Sage in the deck to be able to just normal summon out your copy of Sage, search this card from your deck to your hand, or search out your copy of Maiden, and then when you get your Sage back and you do have the ability to get that additional normal summon off of Mausoleum, you can summon this card out, which is really interesting overall. And I do see this card having a little bit of synergy with the deck to be able to use with your copy of Mausoleum, because it will give you the ability to go in for more synchro plays in the deck, which is actually really cool. And overall, I love the artwork of this card. It just looks so good. And we also have a new card, I believe, for Cyber Angel, which is really cool. So this card actually is called Primera Light. And this card is a quick play spell, and you can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn, and only once that turn, meaning you only get either or the effects per turn. You cannot get both. You can activate one of these effects to tribute an Earth Warrior monster, and if you do, special summon a Light Warrior monster from your hand or deck. That's a pretty good ability to be able to help you just summon out the different monsters you want onto your side of the field. And it might even see play in different decks like Combat Star as well, because it does specifically mention Earth Warrior monsters and Light Warrior monsters. So I do see this being played in cards like in decks like Combat Star and in Cyber Angel as well. And during your main phase, immediate effect resolves, you get to normal summon a warrior monster from your hand. That's actually a really good ability to be able to just give you the effect to just summon out a warrior monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is actually really good. And it doesn't specify the kind of warrior monster you have to summon. It's just any warrior monster. That's actually really insane to give you that additional normal summon. And for the second effect, during your main phase, you can banish this card in the graveyard to add a warrior or fairy cyber monster from your deck to your hand. So now you're going to want to play cards like Foolish Burial inside of your Cyber Angel deck to be able to banish this card in the graveyard, so you can add your warrior or fairy cyber monsters from your deck to your hand, which is actually a really cool ability to be able to use. And I like that overall about this card, because it basically gives us a Rhoda in the form of our copy of Foolish Burial Goods, which is actually pretty interesting. But if you do draw into this card, you can use it to be able to tag out cards if your monster gets targeted by an Imperm or a Veiler. And also it makes different monsters go off, which is pretty good because your Cyber Angel monsters do get effects when they're attributed, which will make cards like Cyber Tutu actually want to play in the deck. I believe that's what it's called in the deck, the level 5 retrain, which is actually really interesting. And I really like this card overall in the deck to be able to use. And that additional normal summon is going to come up handy in a lot of different decks. But overall, I think this card plays the best inside of Combat Star, but it is really interesting for that ability to be able to search out your different cyber warrior fairy monsters from your deck to your hand. And with no surprise, out of the 3 new cards that we've got, the new Blue Eyes card is actually the best. I feel like this one's the best. Then you have the Primera Light, which is probably the second best. And then in the last place is the new Gaia card. This card is, unfortunately, it just has too many drawbacks, to be honest with you guys, in my opinion. With the ability that it cannot be used as an XZ material, and also that effect that at the end of the damage step, you have to detach a material from it. It can't attack directly. It just has a lot of different effects or downsides to it. If it did piercing damage or popped a spell or trap or something like that, it'd be really good. But overall, it just loses out to Gaia Charger. I still think Gaia Charger is just a little bit better than this card to be able to use, because you can use it similarly in different decks. But it is a really interesting card. If we still had cards like Arise Heart around and we were gaining a bunch of materials under our copy of Arise Heart, you could put this on top of a copy of Arise Heart and it would be massive on your side of the field and be insane to be able to actually summon, because you could put it on top of a copy of Arise Heart, which is the only way I know to be able to use this card. I might not be seeing something. You guys might be able to tell me down in the comments, but overall, I do think this is the worst new support card. And unfortunately, it's not a Gaia the Fierce Knight card. It's just a Gaia card, and it's a different form. Like Gaia the Force of Earth, Gaia the Thunder Charger, and even the Fire Synchro versions of Gaia, which is kind of interesting, but overall, I do think this card is kind of not great. But this card is really good. And this card is actually really interesting. We're actually getting some Cyber Angel support, but the only downside of this card is actually released in the limited pack, not in Duelist Advance. So we're just going to see the copy of the new Kaibaman, and we're going to see the new Gaia card released in Duelist Advance, where this card is going to be released in a limited pack, so we don't really know when we're going to actually get this card. It could be an import card inside of Duelist Advance. We're not sure. We don't really know where this card is going to release yet. So that is going to do for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me which one of these cards is your favorite. Mine is obviously the Legend of Kaibaman. This card is so cool, and it's definitely going to see play in Blue Eyes. And now we do want to play 3 copies of Blue Eyes in our deck because of this particular card. So that's going to be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell and there's so you can become part of the notification squad. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.